Hi, I'm Vera. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but sometimes life throws you curveballs that hit you right in the face. For the past 3 years, I've been helping my parents make ends meet after Dad's early retirement, and Mom's health issues left them struggling financially. Vera, honey, we don't know what we'd do without you, Mom said during our Sunday dinner, squeezing my hand across the table. You're always so responsible. Dad nodded, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Not like your sister. Melissa's got her head in the clouds, planning that extravagant wedding of hers. Dad, be fair. Melissa's just different, I said, although I privately agreed. While I'd been working overtime to help pay their mortgage, my younger sister had been posting Instagram photos from beach vacations with her fiancé, Blake. Different is one way to put it, Dad muttered. She stopped by yesterday asking if we could contribute more to her wedding fund. Mom sighed. We told her we're stretched thin as it is. She didn't take it well. I can increase my monthly contribution if you need, I offered, though my budget was already tight. Absolutely not, Mom insisted. You've done enough, sweetheart. 2 weeks later, my best friend Tanya called me, her voice unusually hesitant. Vera? You sitting down? I'm at my desk. Why? What's wrong? I was at Caffeine Corner this morning and overheard Melissa talking to Blake. About your parents' house? I frowned, pushing away from my computer. What about it? She was saying how excited she was that your parents are giving them the house as a wedding gift. That they're signing the papers next week. That's impossible, I said, my stomach dropping. They wouldn't do that without telling me. I've been paying half their mortgage for years. I'm just telling you what I heard, Tanya said. She was practically shouting about it, showing Blake photos of how they're going to renovate your childhood bedroom. I need to go. I hung up, hands shaking as I dialed Mom's number. Vera, everything okay? Mom answered, sounding oddly nervous. Is it true? Are you giving the house to Melissa? The silence on the other end was deafening. Mom? We wanted to tell you in person, she finally said. Your father and I. We've been talking about downsizing anyway. Melissa and Blake need a place to start their family. And what about the money I've been giving you for the mortgage? For the house that you're just giving away? Well, dear, we've been using that for other expenses. Medical bills, you know how it is. My Uncle George called later that evening. Vera, I just heard the news from your aunt. Is it true? Apparently, I said, voice hollow. Did you know they were planning this? No, but I'm not surprised. Your sister's had them wrapped around her finger since she was born. Remember when they used your college fund to buy her that car? I'd almost forgotten about that. Another betrayal years ago. What are you going to do? Uncle George asked. I don't know yet, I replied, but something cold and determined was forming in my chest. But I'm not letting this slide. Not this time. Call my friend Patricia, he suggested. She's a real estate attorney. Something doesn't sound right about all this. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Heard Mom spilled the beans. Don't be jealous. You never wanted the house anyway. Dinner Friday to celebrate? That was the moment I decided. This wasn't just about a house. This was about years of being taken advantage of while my sister got everything handed to her. And it was time for that to change. The next morning, I called Patricia's office and scheduled an emergency consultation. So your parents are still paying the mortgage, but you've been contributing significantly? Patricia asked, her pen tapping against her legal pad. Yes, about half each month for 3 years. I have all the bank transfers documented. She nodded. And was there ever any discussion about this being an investment for you? Any mention of partial ownership? We discussed it initially, I said. Dad said they'd add me to the deed eventually, but nothing was put in writing. Patricia frowned. That complicates things, but doesn't leave you without options. Were you aware they were planning to gift the property? Completely blindsided. I'm going to need all financial records of your contributions, she said. This could potentially be considered a constructive trust situation. I met Tanya for lunch afterward, my head spinning with legal terms. What did the lawyer say? she asked, sliding into the booth. That I might have a case, but I need more information. I pushed my salad around. I need to find out exactly what's happening with the deed transfer. You should talk to Melissa's friend Jess, Tanya suggested. She works at the bank where your parents have their mortgage. Jess was reluctant at first. Vera, I really shouldn't be discussing this. Please, Jess. I've been paying their bills for years. I deserve to know what's happening. She glanced around the coffee shop nervously. Look, I processed the paperwork myself. Your parents aren't just giving Melissa the house. They're taking out a new line of credit against it first. What? Why would they do that? To pay for the wedding, I think. And Melissa mentioned something about a honeymoon in Europe. Jess lowered her voice. The thing is, your parents can't afford the new payments without your help. I felt sick. So they're counting on me continuing to pay, even after they give the house to Melissa? I shouldn't have told you this, Jess whispered, but it didn't seem right. My phone rang. It was my cousin Ryan, who worked at City Hall. Vera, I checked those property records you asked about. There's something weird. The house isn't being transferred directly to Melissa. It's going into some kind of trust with her and Blake as beneficiaries. What does that mean? I'm not sure, but the paperwork was filed by Blake's father. He's in real estate development. Ryan paused. Isn't he the one trying to buy up that whole neighborhood for that condo project? The pieces started falling into place. I called Patricia immediately. They're using my parents, I told her. Blake's family wants the property for development. That changes things, Patricia said. If there's predatory intent, we might be able to challenge the transfer on multiple grounds. I called my Aunt Susan next, who'd always been straight with me. Did you know about this house situation? I asked. Oh, honey, your mother mentioned it months ago. I told her it wasn't fair to you, but Melissa had already convinced them it was the only way they could help with her wedding. And no one thought to tell me? Melissa insisted they wait until after everything was signed. Susan sighed. That girl has always known how to play your parents. By evening, I had a plan. With Patricia's guidance and support from Uncle George, Tanya, and surprisingly Jess, who'd agreed to provide documentation, I was ready to confront my family. You sure about this? Tanya asked as we finalized details. Once you start, there's no going back. They've been using me, I said, my resolve hardening. All while planning to hand everything to Melissa. Again. Then let's make sure they never underestimate you again, she said, squeezing my hand. Friday night arrived. Instead of the celebration dinner Melissa had suggested, I arranged for everyone to meet at my parents' house, the house that had become the center of this betrayal. What's going on? Dad asked when I arrived with Tanya, Patricia, and Uncle George. Mom looked nervously between us. Vera, we were expecting just family tonight. That's why I brought Uncle George, I replied coolly. And Patricia is my attorney. Attorney? Melissa scoffed, exchanging glances with Blake. Don't be so dramatic. I know everything, I said, placing a folder on the coffee table. About the house transfer, the equity line, and Blake's family's development plans. The color drained from Blake's face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie, I snapped. Ryan at City Hall pulled the records. The trust you're setting up leads directly to your father's company. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. What is she talking about, Melissa? It's just a standard arrangement, Melissa stammered. For tax purposes. Uncle George stepped forward. Your future son-in-law's family is planning to demolish this house as part of their riverfront condos project. They've bought 3 properties on this block already. Is this true? Dad turned to Blake, who was suddenly very interested in his shoes. It doesn't matter, Melissa interrupted. The house is going to be ours, and we can do what we want with it. Actually, Patricia interjected, that's why I'm here. Vera has been contributing substantially to this household for years, creating what we believe constitutes a constructive trust. In English, please, Mom said weakly. Your daughter has essentially been investing in this property. Without her knowledge or consent, you've been planning to transfer that investment to someone else. That's fraud. We never meant to hurt you, Mom turned to me, tears forming. We just wanted to help Melissa start her marriage right. And what about me? I demanded. I've been putting my life on hold to help you, and this is how you repay me? Dad straightened up, his face reddening. Now, see here. This is our house, and we can do what we want with it. Not quite, Patricia countered, pulling out more documents. Vera has records of every payment she's made, with notes specifying they were for the mortgage. She also has witnesses to conversations where you promised her partial ownership. You've been planning this for months, I said, my voice shaking. While I was working overtime to help you, you were plotting to give everything to Melissa, again. You're always so self-sufficient, Mom pleaded. Melissa needs more help than you do. Because you've always given her everything, I exploded. While I work and save and help you. Melissa stood up, pointing at me. This is just jealousy. You can't stand that they love me more. The room went silent. Is that what you think? I asked quietly. That this is about love? Vera, Dad began, his tone softening. We're sorry if you feel... No, I cut him off. I don't want your apologies. They mean nothing. Blake finally spoke up. Look, maybe we can work something out. A payment plan to reimburse you. Too late, I said. Patricia has already filed for an emergency injunction to stop the property transfer. Melissa's face contorted with rage. You can't do that! The wedding is in 3 weeks. We've already told everyone about the house. You should have thought about that before you decided to scam our parents, I replied. Melissa lunged toward me, knocking over a lamp. I'll make you regret this. You've always been jealous of me. Blake and Dad pulled her back as she continued shouting threats. That's assault, Patricia noted calmly, recording on her phone. And those threats will look interesting to a judge. Get out of my house, Dad yelled, pointing at the door. Gladly, I replied, gathering my things. But you might want to think twice about whose house this really is. The next weeks passed in a flurry of legal activity. Patricia was brilliant, obtaining not only the injunction but also a temporary restraining order against Melissa after her outburst. The judge was particularly interested in the bank records, Patricia told me during our meeting with the mediator, and Jess's testimony about how they structured the equity line. Mom and Dad sat across the table looking shell-shocked. Melissa and Blake hadn't shown up. Where's your daughter? The mediator asked my parents. Dad sighed heavily. She and Blake left for Cancun yesterday, said they needed to regroup after the wedding was postponed. Without paying any of the vendors, Mom added quietly. They're all calling us. The mediator reviewed our proposal. Miss Lawson is offering to purchase the property at fair market value, minus her documented contributions and legal fees. She'll allow you to remain in the home for 6 months while you find alternative housing. We can't afford to move, Dad protested. You were planning to downsize anyway, I reminded him coldly. That's what you told me. We never thought it would come to this, Mom whispered. Neither did I replied. 3 days later, I met Tanya and Uncle George for dinner to sign the final paperwork. How are you holding up? Tanya asked, pouring me wine. Better than expected, I admitted. The bank approved my mortgage this morning. Uncle George raised his glass. I'm proud of you, Vera. Standing up for yourself wasn't easy. Especially against family, I added, the word tasting bitter. My phone buzzed. Melissa. I showed the others. Are you going to answer? Tanya asked. I did, putting it on speaker. What do you want, Melissa? This has gone far enough, she said, her voice cracking. We're back from Mexico. The wedding's officially canceled. Blake's family wants nothing to do with me now that the property deal fell through. That sounds like a you problem. Vera, please. I'm your sister. We can work this out. Like you worked out taking the house I helped pay for? I asked. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it that way. Mom and Dad said, stop. I'm not interested in who said what. You knew I was helping them, and you didn't care. Can we just meet? Talk face to face? She pleaded. Mom and Dad are devastated. They made their choice, I said firmly. They chose you, like always. The difference is, this time there are consequences. So that's it? You're cutting off your entire family? No, Melissa. You all cut me off when you decided to betray me. After hanging up, I turned to my friends. Was that too harsh? You gave them exactly what they deserved, Tanya reassured me. No more, no less. Uncle George nodded. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, Vera. Sometimes the only healthy response is to walk away. The following weekend, I met with a real estate agent at my soon-to-be house. My house. The property has excellent potential, she said, walking through the living room where I'd confronted my family. What are your plans for it? I'm going to renovate it completely, I replied. Make it unrecognizable. Later, as I stood in the backyard where I'd grown up, Tanya joined me. Having second thoughts? She asked. No, I said, watching the sunset. For the first time, I feel like I'm not being taken advantage of. Like I matter. You've always mattered, Vera. Now they know it too. Do you think they'll ever understand what they did wrong? I asked. Maybe someday, but that's not your problem anymore. She was right. I'd spent years trying to earn my family's appreciation, only to be betrayed. Now I was finally putting myself first. What happens next? Tanya asked. I start over, I said. On my terms. Have you ever had to stand up to family who took advantage of your kindness? What would you have done in my situation?